If you are about to sit for an exam next week, then this is the right video for you. Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. This is the third video of the Vlogmas series. Even I am surprised that we have made it this far. So look out for a video from me every single day until Christmas, except for Saturdays and Sundays, because everyone, including me, needs a break. So today's video is about what you need to do in that exam room. Tips, do's and don'ts from experience. I have had to sit 13 exams, and trust me, they've been a bit more because of resits. What you need to do in that exam room that will help you work towards that pass, because we all want a pass. I mean, if you can get 90%, good for you, but at this point we want a pass, because it doesn't matter whether it is literally just a pass or it's 90%. At the end of it, you will all be qualified irrespective of the grade. So I will cover 5 tips, because I do not want this to be a long video. You'll be seeing me every single day on your timeline, so I definitely want you to stay tuned in and not to lose any of you. So my first point, which can be, it sounds cliche, but I have to say it, show up on time. Now the reason why this is very important, and trust me, I have tried to show up late. It really disorients you when you show up late. You do need that time to, between you studying, you know, the pressure that comes with studying, the pressure of feeling like you're not ready. You do need to disconnect from that and literally just woosah. Now, when you show up to an exam, they usually recommend you show up at least an hour before the exam, because they need to register you, especially if you're doing a computer-based exam. There's a bit of a longer registration process. That bit, once you're registered and you're just sitting in that waiting room, waiting to be called into the exam room, that time is very important for your own mental wellness. I do not champion for people for cramming. There are people who carry their books with them, to each their own, but I do not champion for that, because I believe at that point, what you've done is what will count. You cannot really add much value at that point. So I used to literally sit down and just woosah. If it is a prayer that's going to work for you, if you just need that silence and just your breathing, watch your breathing, whatever you need to do to calm your nerves, because the much that you have read, you can easily forget that, or not even be able to construct your answer properly if your mind is not in the right place. So you want to arrive on time, just so that your mind, you can calm your mind, calm your nerves, and get into that space that you need to be in when you start your exams. Second point, once you have now started, you've been given your answer booklet, or if you're doing a computer-based exam, your exam is now loading and you're reading through instructions and you're basically given the green light to start your exam. Scan through the questions. Don't just go through it sequentially. This is more applicable if you're doing more of the advanced papers, where it's more open-ended questions. Of course, if you have the earlier papers where the first section is multiple choice, scanning through the questions is more so for the section B. So the section where you do need to either choose questions. Nowadays they don't allow us to choose questions, you have to do all of them, but you get to see which question to start with. So if you're doing the strategic professional papers, it's usually the 3 questions that you get. Scan through them so that you know which one is best to start. Our minds work differently, but you may have stored your information in your head in a certain way, and it works better if you start with a question on this topic compared to the other. You'll remember things better. When you scan through the questions, you'll be able to have enough detail to know even how complex the paper is, because you might be panicking for nothing, and then you see the questions, you're like, oh, I've read all of this, now I'm good. So it gives you that idea or a feel of how the paper is, what is best for you to start with, and then you're good to go. So don't just go sequentially. You never know, the easiest question could be at the back. And this actually leads on to my third point. I recommend, and this is just a personal preference, that you start with the easy questions first. Hear me out. The reason why I think it's important for you to start with the easy question first is because, as I've mentioned in other videos, this is Hunger Games. You're not there to try and impress anyone. You're there to get marks. I believe if you start with the easiest questions, then you know you have that in the bag, and you can struggle with your difficult question until the time ends. And trust me, I'm talking from experience. I have felt really bad where I have run out of time because I was struggling with a question that honestly, even if I spent an hour there, I mean, I've actually spent an hour on a question. Even if I spent the whole day there, there's only so much I can get from that question. And I've left questions where I actually know the answer. And that's the worst feeling ever. You want to bag your marks where you know for sure you can get them. So I would recommend you start with the easiest questions first, then go to the hard ones and just try your best at them. Leading on to my fourth point. You see how they're all tying in together? So my next point is, do not leave any question unanswered. Now, this kind of conflicts with my other point, but there's something I'm trying to get at. Now, you can start with the easiest question, and maybe it's worth 15 marks, but the answer you have in your head is worth 30 marks. Now, even if you spend 2 hours writing your answer, you can only get 15 marks. So what do you need to do? You need to know when to move on. A tactic that you can use to know when to move on is check how much time can I really spend on a question. Now, you can usually calculate this by taking the total marks, which is 100 marks, dividing it by the time you have for the exam. So the earlier papers, they're usually a bit shorter. It's been a while, so I can't even remember. The time in my head is the one that for the exams I've done in the past year. So 3 hours, 15 minutes for the advanced papers. And that tends to work out to around 1.8 marks per minute. And I will actually confirm that. Just give me a moment. We're shooting on the go. So 100 marks divided by 3 hours, which is 180 minutes, plus 15 minutes. I think I've done wonders there. Guys, this is Vlogmas. You will see things on the go. It is not the total marks over the time allowed. No, it is the time, because you're trying to find how many minutes should you spend per mark. It is the total time you have divided by the number of marks. So you know you need to spend 1.95 minutes per mark. So if a question is 15 marks, if you multiply that, you need to spend maximum 29 minutes. That's half an hour for a 15-mark question. So that's the basis you're meant to use to know when to move on. Your answer could be sweet. Trust me, you could have just literally done a past paper question. And what you forget is the marking scheme gives you all the possible answers. It doesn't mean that a candidate needs to provide all of those. It gives you all possible so that you know you have a flavor of all the different answers that are appropriate for the question. So do not, if it's a 15-mark question and you're doing a 3-hour, 15-minute paper, then do not spend more than 29 minutes. That way, then you'll have a good chance of making sure you answer every question in that paper. You want to attempt. Trust me, you will not know everything. Even that hard question, you might not know much. But the fact that you probably worked out, especially if there's anything mathematical, you want to make sure you've calculated it. You've been given that data for a reason. So make sure you use it. Get the free marks. Get the easy marks. It's Hunger Games, and no one cares whether your answer was the best. We care about the marks here, so make sure you get the easy marks. Moving on to the next, that actually brings me to the end. My 5 points are mainly showing up on time, scan through the questions, and this is mainly for open-ended questions, because multiple choice, by the time you're done scanning, you've already wasted half an hour. This is more for when you're dealing with section B, or if you're doing the more advanced papers, you're dealing with open-ended questions for the whole paper. Yeah? Scan through so that you know what questions to start with. I recommend you start with the easiest questions. That's my 3rd point. And then my 4th point, only spend the maximum time allowed per question. Then the last one, make sure you answer all the questions. That way you have a good chance of making the best use of that time in that exam room. And I get it. It is hard. It is tiring. Like the day you've done an ACCA paper, my gosh, I usually feel like I've even lost weight after I've done an exam. So I get it. I have been there, done that. So I completely understand. And that's why I'm giving you these tips that I've learned the hard way so that hopefully your experience can be just a little bit better. I wish you all the best. Please, please, please do not kill yourself for ACCA. Worst thing that can happen is you take a resit. And you know what? You're not alone. So do not be there. Do not kill yourself over an exam. Just do the best you can under your circumstances. Use some of these tips that I'm giving you and just know that it will be fine. It is progress over perfection. See you in the next one. Bye. All the best.